Hi, beauties. I'm getting ready to come to Portland to teach, and I'm so excited. So I hope you come play with me. And I wanted to share this story. I've been having some great interactions on Facebook around this topic about the difference between feeling excited and feeling like a romantic excitement with somebody and being so completely triggered and terrified you're in fight or flight. So when I was a teenager, I had a boy that I had a crush on, and he would get close to me. His name was Joey, and he had kind of jagged teeth, and he was an artist. And I would feel this boom, 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 like this. I thought it was excitement because this is what I had seen in the movies, right? Like the man gets near the woman, and she kind of like loses her wits, and gets all nervous. And I thought, oh, well, that's what romantic attraction looks like. But I wasn't sure because it didn't feel good. It felt like my IQ kind of dropped a little bit, and I felt like it was harder to actually connect with him. And so I asked my dad about it. Even at 13, I was very like taking myself apart and looking at each piece. And I said, Dad, when I have this experience when my heart starts beating like this when this boy is around, is that love? And he said, no, that's fear. You've given away your power, and now you're afraid he's going to reject you because you've given him the ability to judge your worth, right? Like you've taken your self-worth, given it to him, and if he doesn't like you, then you don't have the same value. And I was like, oh. And that was my idea of romantic love blown to smithereens. But recently I dated someone, and he started, it started out strong, and he was present and passionate, and I saw like little red flags here and there. And then he started, as I can, like brought up like, hey, I'm seeing this and that didn't feel good, can we do it another way? He started distancing himself and being inconsistent with his behavior. And I noticed that when I would see him, my stomach would flip a little bit. Like I would have a whew. And again, because I've watched so many romantic movies like you, there was a moment of like, oh, I really like this guy, like I'm having such a visceral reaction to him. And then my larger brain kicked in, and I was like, no, Isis, you're afraid to lose him, you don't trust him, and you're having a nervous system reaction to that you're afraid. And this doesn't need to be romanticized. This doesn't need to be seen as like, oh, I'm really feeling a passionate connection with him, like, oh, it's so dramatic and tumultuous. This is actually just shitty. This is a shitty feeling. And so I started watching videos about attachment. And one guy in the video, I loved it, was very honest. And I don't think he realized like what an asshole he sounded like when he said this. But he's like, the secret to successful courting, dating, is to trigger someone's attachment issues. Like basically, like get their nervous system in a place where they're afraid you're gonna leave, and they're like more interested in you. And this is something that's happening a lot with ghosting, with people just disappearing, as we're more and more in this state of like, what can I trust? And I want to say you can trust yourself. You can trust your breath, your feeling, and you don't need to accept fear and then romanticize it. It's okay to say, actually, I want something that's more stable. I want to be able to relax and trust and go deeper instead of staying on the surface of this, like any minute this world's going to fall apart. That's not really a place where we can really relax and be sexy. There might be some sexual charge and feeling like our nervous system is really activated, but it's not that place where you're really going to have like a deep orgasm or a deep release, because you're in this like panic place. And it's not romantic. It's shitty. So as someone who has just recently been through that, surprisingly, because the last time I felt that way, I was 13, and then really kind of looked at that and be like, wow, I feel like our culture is kind of going in this direction. Like, as women, we're being told, well, your sexuality should be less emotional, right? Like, you should be less emotionally connected in your sexuality. It's not that important. And so if somebody disappears, just and but really, it's easy to get hooked with these attachment things, to feel unsafe and to feel really triggered and to struggle with that. So if we know what's actually happening, right, it's easier to be like, okay, wow, that sucks, and that brought up a lot of fear for me, and I'm kind of a little bit in an animal place where I don't trust, and I'm gonna take some good care of myself, instead of trying to pull or detach, like do anything that's reactionary, right? Because a lot of this feedback is just, well, just cut off contact, and that's great and fine if you can be there with yourself and acknowledge how scary it is, instead of just feeling like you need to shut down your emotions even more, because that's how to do this new culture. So I hope that's helpful. I know plenty of you are married or in relationships, and you'll find maybe different ways where you feel those things happening in your life. But those of you who are out there and you're dating, and who knows, you might even feel these feelings with a friend, with a boss, right, with a colleague. Watch the difference between fear and romantic excitement. Good. All right. Hopefully I'll see you in the workshops, and besitos from Spain.